There's really nothing quite like Monster Hunter's combat. Over the 300 billion years the franchise has existed, Capcom have taken the cool building blocks of the hunter in their weapon and refined it to a pristine point. Fighting monsters just feels good. Dancing around moves, punishing openings, making sets to exploit weaknesses, you name it, it's all bloody brilliant. That's why you're here, naturally. So what does this have to do with the Zenith of today's video? Well, you see, part of a good fight is using the movement of the monster against them, baiting out certain attacks to get the most damage in, and it's really one of the core advantages the hunters have over monsters. We can adapt to their moveset, and once that's figured out, everything goes in our favour. So what would happen if a monster started to learn our moveset? What would happen if it knew when we would dodge, and decided to hunt us in return? We're ending up back in the barren white lake once again for the subject of today's Zenith. Can you see it? Just there, under the sand. I'd like to introduce you to Zenith Gasurabazura. The original Brute Wyvern was a home-cooked frontier monster and has since undergone a noticeable visual change. What was once a hide of purple and brown has now bleached itself into a stark white colour due to the passage of time. We could even speculate this as an intelligent adaptation to blend in perfectly with the white sands of the lake, be my guest. However, whilst this muted colour palette may suggest that Gasura has grown old and infirm, let me assure you it is anything but. Oozing out of its body at any given time is an incredibly brutal and unforgiving poison. Yep, we are bringing back the Zenith level poison we had a run-in with during our Espinas fight. As a reminder on how it works, Z poison's damage scales with the level of quest that you're on, and cannot be reduced nor immunized against by any meager armor skill. Your only option is to avoid it outright by evading or blocking, or to pick up the purple items dotted around the battlefield. These shiny markers drop an anti-venom specific to Zenith poison and are incredibly useful to have in the early levels in case you get tapped. As for the highest level, you'll be dead before you can sheath your weapon, they're nigh on useless at this point. It's an incredibly deadly mechanic to go toe to toe with, and you'll need to be wary of the attacks you'll face in order to avoid getting afflicted with the status. So, at the base level 200 we see Gasura's main tricks mostly imported from the Vase version. There's a slowly descending poison bubble that will be popped by the brute to create a large AoE. This can be simply dodged or blocked when the wyvern claps its hands together. Secondly, there's this dust blast followed up by a spray of poison. You can block both parts of the move, but it's important to know you can't chain here. You have to delay your input to catch the follow-up, especially if you intend to roll the attack. It's a risky way to avoid the move, but can be rewarding if you figure it out. A small note regarding the bites as well, it will poison through guards. Don't block it. Another move to be aware of is the tail spin. When Gasura winds up and spins in place, it's checking to see if you manage to dodge or not. If you get struck, you'll be stuck into a higher level of stun that effectively immobilizes you. What this also does is confirm to Gasura to follow up with another attack where it'll lob a ball of poison to land on you in place. As this attack is only thrown out as someone gets hit, you need to be aware of any teammates you have alongside you in case they get tagged in multiplayer, as there's a chance you may end up in a very painful crossfire even if you manage to evade. The two other attacks you'll need to be aware of start when you're at a distance from the Zenith. If you see this raw animation and seeing Gasura begin to dig, stand completely still and wait for him to come to you. What this does is surround you with poisonous pitfalls in the sand that if touched will trap and poison you, leading to an almost certain cart. You'll then have this hissing noise as an audio cue for Gasura tunneling beneath you, and about a half second after it ends you'll want to roll in any direction to avoid the ambush jump from beneath the sands. It's worth noting that you can thread the needle and run out of the poison trap, but it's an incredibly precise with a dangerous punishment if you fail. Lastly, pay attention to whenever Gasura faces another direction in the area away from any hunter threats. It'll make a beeline for a predetermined point in the area whilst dropping an anti-venom, roar, and then disappear under the sands. Welcome to Whack-a-Brute. A circle of 6 poison pitfalls with a 7th in the center will appear, one of which will begin to bubble. If you're close, head on over to it and whack away as Gasura will be surfacing through this opening. It's an incredibly short window that it'll pop its face out of the dirt for, so if there's a distance to travel, or if you have to navigate over another pitfall to reach it, I'd recommend abstaining and waiting for the second resurfacing. If you hit Gasura during either of these windows, it'll be stunned for a brief period and you'll end up cutting the attack string short, for a nice damage opportunity. If you fail to stop it, however, all the remaining pits will burst with poison and the wyvern will shoot out from beneath you, meaning you've got a couple of extra dodges to contend with, not to mention a higher risk of poison. Gasura really does have a huge bag of tricks right from the start, but it's really only half of the story so far. You see, eventually you're going to get to a rage mode, and this is where the whole fight gets turned on its head. Gasura will slam a foot down and roar to the sky, and you'll want to make sure you avoid getting hit by this roar as it'll line you up right to get smashed into cream cheese by the rage explosion. And it's a dramatic change. The hide is now restored to its vibrant purples, oranges, and even 2 massive pink sails jut out of the back like a coral reef. What's essentially happened here is Gasura has turned up its blood pressure to the level of bursting, funneling all of its power into its muscles and the impressive front arms, the Zenith body part of the day. It's gotten so pissed and wants to kick your ass so much, it even turns off its ability to use poison for the entire time it's enraged. I want you to think about exactly what that means. Gasura has taken damage and has chosen to bring in the serious firepower. Instead of tapping into that innate poison, it's decided instead to simply beat you to death. You're now staring down a monster that chooses its physical strength over Zenith poison when things start looking dire, because that's the more powerful option. I've got a theory that Gasura's blood literally boils the poison out of its system, effectively sterilizing itself, and it only becomes toxic again once it calms down, since you'll see poison overflow from it at the end of Rage, but that's neither here nor there for this video. What is there, and very much here, is that you're about to get clubbed into the dirt. Gasura now attacks with brute strength, bludgeoning you with its palms, tail, and entire body. The key attacks you'll note here have to do with these hands. Firstly is this simple clap attack, which can be rolled or blocked as you see fit. Just be aware of the impressive range on the explosion, which will extend past the body. As an extension of that, there's another version where Gasura will scoop up a ball of dirt into the air and clap you as you're on the way back down. Not only are these 2 incredibly hard-hitting attacks, but if the full combo gets you, you're lined up to be automatically stunned in the rare occasion you survive. Gasura will always end this move with a non-damaging roar taunt, so there's a significant opening as a reward for those who block or roll both aspects of the move. Onto the matter of stomping attacks, Gasura has a single stomp that leaves a pitfall on the map for some time as a form of area denial. It will also combo stomps with a body check, and to tell the difference, pay attention to which leg goes up first. If it's his left, it's a single stomp, if it's the right, it's the combo. The combo here, to note, does have some significant delays between the 3 hits, so be mindful of your own attacks to make sure you're not mid-swing when you need to dodge. A final attack to note is the bulldozer attack. This one is incredibly difficult to avoid solely due to the fact that you'll most likely be next to the thing when the move comes out. Gasura will slam its body low to the ground and generate a wave of sand to push towards you. I can't speak for more skilled players, but from my experience you just simply cannot roll through this. The response I've found is to roll the tremor and run the same direction that Gasura is moving to bait out the attack entirely. If you're snagged, and you're likely to be, your health drains down until you're thrown backwards in a ball of earth, dealing some scary damage. Be prepared for this attack to come out at all times. Of course, that isn't all. Why would it be, as we still have to deal with what happens when Gasura exits Rage mode. Gasura is an intelligent thing, surprisingly, and we see the first hints of that intelligence when it begins to drool poison and a shiny appears in front of it. This is a trap, unsurprisingly, and if you even so much as stand near the front of the thing, it'll grab you and immediately bury you 6 feet under. Not metaphorically, not a funny little joke to say, oh, he hurts you, no. Gasura will pile drive you under the earth for a guaranteed one-hit kill move. Your hunter ceases to be. So I think we'd like to avoid that move. Either get yourself a sharpener or a heal, or continue to attack the tail, as the Zenith will be switching areas immediately after the rage ends. From here, the dance continues with poison as before, and it's here where I'd like to gush about just how creative this all is. There is such a clear identity between each of these states. Gasura seems to know exactly how to approach hunters, disabling their movement, placing traps, using eye-wateringly powerful poison to whittle you down, even setting bait for greedy enemies. Couple this with the sheer animal power in rage mode, God, it really does feel like an absolute force of nature is coming after you, with the entire weight of the mountain seemingly behind every step. I bloody love how they put this guy together. Now that I've composed myself a bit, let's move on up to G rank 400. Here there are just 2 new attacks to deal with, one in each state. In the poison mode we see this palm sweep into a roar with little to no windup. To dodge the sand that comes out from the sweep, roll in the opposite direction that Gasura turns, and prepare for a second immediate roll or block to prevent the roar from hitting you. In rage mode, Gasura will take to the skies with an enormous jump deep into the sand. The initial impact sends out a wave of sand that will trip you, so you'll need to roll that. What follows is that you're now being sucked into the pit in the middle before Gasura bursts out with 2 huge impacts. Extreme style or spamming rolling is your friend here. If your weapon is unsheathed, start running, waiting for the moment the sand stops flowing. From here it's timing 2 rolls, as both the exit and impact have hitboxes, and you should be golden. No real other changes here. Most of the meat and potatoes we've been introduced to already, and it's the same story for G rank 600 with no new moves present. Instead, a small note about the gear. Poison as a status effect is always welcome on Frontier gear, considering the amount of status synergy there is with sets such as Abnormality. Plus, the Zenith skill for Obscurity is always a solid addition for guarding weapons. Not much else to say here. Instead, how about we move on to 800? G rank 800 Gasura is a different beast. I'd be confident in saying it's the most difficult Zenith to learn and adapt to, simply because its moveset is designed to punish you. I cannot stress how much caution you have to exercise when facing this guy down for the first time, especially if you've gotten cozy with the previous ranks. Remember when I said Gasura is an intelligent fighter? Here's where we see the real payoff. The Zenith got sick of you dodging the tailspin, so he doesn't wait for consent now. Regardless if you dodge the tail or not, he will burst with poison, no projectile needed. This simplifies the tailspin because it's the same string every time, but will guarantee a death if you get stunned due to the abhorrent damage of Z poison now. Rage mode, however, is where these changes are most apparent. Gasura starts cheating. The hand claps now have the chance to fake out and hit you with a feinted follow-up. See this? It's designed to catch you if you roll in time with the old attack, and you'll end up being caught in a roll like you're panic rolling in any FromSoft game. It's putrid, I'll be honest. You'll get hit by it more than once, but there is a tell. If Gasura fully opens its mouth before the animation, you'll get the normal clap, but if those lips are sealed, you're about to get punked. It's a very subtle tell, but one that your life depends on, so make sure you time your rolls accordingly and stay vigilant at all times. The final new change is a simple, brand new attack. Gasura will play the bongos for you. A slow wind-up slam is your tail here, and the range is massive. This is then followed up by 4 slams with alternating palms, and a 5th final finisher with both. Guarding weapons feast here. They can chain block everything, and the cooldown from this attack is so massive you can pretty much commit to any attack you'd like. Weapons without parries may need additional help to either avoid or roll through said attack, since even with Hulk potions, the full combo is likely to kill you. But all you have to do is pay attention to each arm coming down and adjust accordingly. You may need to use weapon-specific evades if you don't have a block. Bonus points if you run a reflect setup, however, and get close to Gasura. It's basically free damage. This final tier is no joke. I'm not sure why or how they managed to do it, but the Frontier devs turned an entire fight against you for fun, out of nowhere, and just because. They managed to take the hunter's knowledge and use it to catch them unsuspected. What an insane choice. I'm all here for it. Difficult, underhanded fisticuffs, it's basically a street fight. You're brawling with Gasura here. One of the most creative choices they could have taken with a random Zenith seemingly out of nowhere. That was Zenith Gasurabazura, a properly evil fight. I hope you enjoyed this video. This does conclude the Drylands report. We have received further feedback of Zeniths establishing nests in the Mesopolitan territory, however, and the isolated species report to follow will bring you all of our findings. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Cera out.